Welcome back to Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Today, I've asked Mike Dunbar to come back and chat to us again. Mike's the Managing Director of Mamba Exploration, the ASX code M24. Love that code. And what they've got is a rare earth. Last time I spoke to Mike was in March, and they were starting their drilling on their rare earth project, and I think they're getting some more results coming out. So I thought, let's update the market. Let's find out what's going on. Mike, great to see you. Thanks for coming back on Small Caps.
Good to see you, Kerry. And it's nice to be able to give everyone an update of what we've been up to. So it's been a busy couple of months, that's for sure.
I love the fact I'm on the Gold Coast wearing my white Gold Coast jacket, and you're over in Perth wearing your winter woolies.
Well, Kerry, last time we talked and I gave a presentation of, as I said before, Mamba's got summer projects and winter projects, and we were actually just at the end of the summer projects last time. So I was wearing my cricket hat. And the Scorchers did win, so I got one up on that. And now it's moved into the winter series and winter projects. So I thought a scarf would be appropriate. But for those who follow the AFL, not all of you will, but for those who do, yellow, it's not the Eagles, it's the Wallabies. So
well done. Go the Wallabies. Rugby World Cup's coming up. Go the Wallabies. All right.
Absolutely. Anyway. Back to why I'm here.
Hyden project results.
Yeah, so when we spoke last time, we just drilled 23 holes, I think it was from memory, on the western clay target zone we had, and I'd mentioned we'd also had a gravity anomaly target to the west. Sorry, I'll get that right, to the east of the clay target area. So we've drilled 58 holes in that area. And just got the results back and announced those, I think, 2 days ago. So what we've now defined in that area is a zone of rare earth mineralisation with very, very wide, very consistent grades of rare earths. And when I say wide, the better zones that we've intersected are around average 30 metres thick, up to 59 metres thick, but average 30 metres thick.
How does that, sorry to interrupt you, Mike, how does that compare to other projects when you say 30 metres thick? Because might not mean something to everybody out there.
Yeah, so 30 metres is probably what equates, we're drilling vertical holes into the system. That equates to probably a 10-storey building. So very, very substantial widths of mineralisation. A lot of other mineralisation that other rare earth companies are intersecting. Some are getting 10s and 12s. Some really wide ones might get 30 occasionally. Very rarely will you see zones that's consistent wide zones like we've got. So not only are they wide zones of up to 59 metres, averaging, as I said, 30, but they're very consistent mineralisation. They're around 1,000 parts per million total rare earth oxides. So that's a very substantial grade for clay or regolith hosted rare earth mineralisation. A number of other companies, and I'm not being disparaging to any of those, they would be happy with and have announced and have publicly said they're happy with 2 to 5 metres of grades that we've got. So that's to give a comparison as to how wide these zones are. They are also very shallow. A number of them start from surface, and I think the deepest hole we drilled was only about 50 metres deep. So they're very shallow, substantial widths, and very substantial grades. So pretty much all of the intersections we use a 500 part per million cut-off grade for our what we call significant or not. Other people are using much lower grades. We're using higher grade cut-off and still get very wide zones. We see pretty much every intersection's over. We're seeing at least 4 metres over 1,200 parts per million. So very substantial. The other really important thing about rare earths is what's it made up of?
Yeah.
Because there are 16 odd elements of total rare earths, or in the rare earth suite, if you like. NdPr is one of the key ones that the key valuable, or the 2 key valuable ones that you want to see in the suite of elements. And we've got on average the zones average around 23% NdPr. So that's higher proportion of valuable rare earths rather than having very low NdPr. You want as high as you can of that particular suite. So yeah, it does look really interesting, and really now pushing forward with the project. So yeah, quite exciting.
I've got a couple of questions for you because there's a lot of companies out there that go, we've got rare earths. No, we've got rare. Everybody's got rare earths. And you did say the NdPr at 23%. That's a big tick for you guys. The width's a big tick as well.
Yep.
There's a lack of understanding as well. Everyone talks rare earths. They're not rare. They're quite common.
Exactly right.
And I think the biggest challenge is, are they extractable? So are you at a stage yet where you can say to me, Kerry, we know what we're going to do, or am I asking a question that's way too early?
No, look, you're dead right. The key to rare earths, as you say, they're not rare. So that's kind of a bit of a dichotomy right there before we even start. But the key to them is how can you and what process do you need to extract them? So if you to talk an analogy, gold mineralisation can be refractory and very hard to extract, or free milling. Now everybody in gold understands that difference. So if you have refractory as opposed to free milling, obviously you want the free milling aspects. So with rare earths, it's similar, different, but similar in terms of how can you extract the material. And so that is the one thing that most companies who are doing rare earth exploration, and there are a lot of juniors doing that right now, most companies aren't telling you about. I am playing a very straight bet. We are currently undertaking our first initial metallurgical test work to see how we can extract this material. So it's really important to understand that the key to all of these rare earth, particularly oxide or clay rare earth mineralisation, is can you extract it? That's the key. And to use the analogy, is it free milling or is it refractory? And so what we're now doing is we've already sent samples in for metallurgical test work. That lab is very busy because, funnily enough, a lot of people are now starting to do metallurgical test work for rare earths. But that's now in the process, and as soon as we can get results out and understand what the likely flow sheet is, that will then help us decide how we have to move forward. So
Mike,
yes, that is a really key point.
Yeah, and I just want to ask you this, again, not being a geologist, I'm saying, would it ever come back where they said you can't extract it? Or what are the challenges? And is that a possibility with this deposit? Or you think because we've got such a high percentage of the NdPr should be okay? I mean, how confident are you?
Look, it all comes down to answer your question succinctly. Yes, there's a possibility, as is with every rare earth deposit, that you can't extract it. Or if you do extract it, the process you need to go through is so cost prohibitive that you can't make money on it. So yes, that is a possibility. That's why we're doing this test work so much earlier than you normally would, because we need to understand that before we move forward. So absolutely, that's the key. And that's why we're doing this test work far earlier. Some investors have said to me and asked me, why aren't we continuing to drill? And the answer is, I'm not going to keep spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on drilling if this material can't be extracted economically. It's you're burning cash for no reason. I won't do that, and that's why we're doing the methodical work that we need to do in the background to ensure we can. And if we can't, we haven't spent too much money of shareholders' money going down a path that will not work. We need to understand what we're doing, understand what flow sheet we would need to extract the material, and then from there make a decision as to how we move forward.
And speaking of moving forward, this was an option agreement. You don't own it at the moment. You're doing the work, but it is an option agreement. Where do you sit with that, given that the news could take a bit longer? Yeah,
look, last time we spoke, what I didn't tell you in the last
you didn't tell me something
interview. Well, I'm unfortunately I can't divulge everything to everybody all the time. there are continual disclosure obligations and confidentiality things I have to deal with. But anyway, we had the option agreement ran for 45 days post the renewal of the key tenement that hosts this mineralisation.
Yep.
That tenement's been renewed for another 5 years. And so the 45-day notice period was started to tick, to want of a better term. We've negotiated with the vendor to extend that period for 6 months to allow us time to do this metallurgical test work. Well, first of all, to do this the drilling, get the results back from the drilling, do the metallurgical sampling and metallurgical test work, get those preliminary results back before we need to exercise the option. So very deliberately, and that's a huge bonus for us that they did allow us to extend the option for 6 months. So it gives us time to now understand what we have before having to exercise the option, because otherwise we would have been hitting right up to the very last day and having to make a decision potentially on exercising the option on not all the available information and half information, which is the worst outcome for everybody. Just
remind us that when you do exercise that option, what are the terms?
The terms, they get $1 million worth of Mamba shares. Portions of those will be escrowed, but there's $1 million worth of shares would be issued to them.
Mm-hmm.
There are also they would get some options based on certain hurdles in the future. Should we identify a resource of more than, I think it's 30,000 tonnes of contained rare earth. So that's a hurdle on a identification of a JORC resource over a certain size. That's down the track. They get options for that. So to exercise those, they'd actually have to buy them. So that's right now. We wouldn't know where we stand with that, but clearly not having to give $1 million worth of shares to the vendors is a much better outcome for our existing shareholders than.
Well, that's what I was about to say. It's good governance of the current shareholders. All right. The focus has been very much, we've been talking about the rare earths, and I think that's obviously when you first came out and said, we think we've found something, and it keeps delivering. Are there any other final comments you want to make about this project? Because I want to move on to your other winter project in a moment. But is there anything else that you want to just share with our audience out there about the project?
No, look, the really interesting thing about the project is yes, we've got the clay area that we drilled, and now we've got the gravity target we drilled. Defining substantial widths and grades over 2 kilometres north-south and open north in both directions, and around a kilometre wide is an outstanding outcome from the first round of drilling. Obviously more work to do, but I don't want to do that drilling until we know how extractable this material is and what flow sheet we need. So that's really the key part. That's the key part about our summer project.
Sorry, Mike, when will you know that? Because that's when I put in my diary to ring you again.
The lab's flat out at the moment. They're saying 5 to 6 weeks. So realistically, probably 8 weeks. But as soon as we can get the results back and understand them, and the metallurgists give us the understanding of what it all means, because I'm only a geologist, I'm not a metallurgist.
Yep.
Understand what it means, and then we'll announce those, and we'll have a far better idea as to how we then move forward.
And you'll hear it first here on Small Caps, ladies and gentlemen.
Maybe the ASX first.
Maybe the ASX first, but pretty quickly. Anyway,
soon after you, yeah.
Mike, it's winter. It's the Kimberley, I assume. What's going on with your other projects at the moment?
Yeah, so as I said, it is winter, and I've got the scarf on to prove it. So we are active up in the Kimberley at the moment. About a week ago, thereabouts, we announced that we're starting to fly a large airborne EM survey over our Copper Flats project, which is a copper-silver project up in the Kimberley, in the far east Kimberley. We've flown that now. That's just finished in the last couple of days. And we now we'll get the preliminary results in the next couple of weeks, and getting that data then processed to identify where there are conductors. Flying the EM will identify conductive zones, or hopefully of sulfides. We'll just have to wait and see if they are. But that's the targeting tool we use. Come up with some targets, and then we'll go and ground truth those, understand what they are.
Sorry, what did you just say? Ground truth them? What does that mean?
Yeah, look, going out to the area, the senior geologist and myself going out there, kicking the rocks, seeing what's at surface, where those anomalies are, to understand is there an explanation at surface? Because if there is an explanation at surface, we wouldn't need to drill it. So if you see something sticking out of the ground, for example, and it's a black shale, which is they are very conductive and show up very clearly with EM. Then if we were to see that, then that would explain that anomaly, and we wouldn't necessarily need to drill it.
Right.
We've done that in the past, and I've done that everywhere that I've either done airborne or ground-based geophysics to understand what the EM response is, if there's a response at surface or an explanation at surface. And then we'll move forward to the modelling, ground EM, and then hopefully drilling as soon as we can.
Why do you like copper flats?
It's big.
How big, Mike? I just want to get an understanding of why up there, because it's quite a long way away.
Yeah, look, it is. Look, copper is a key mineral that we're going to need.
100%. Yep.
The world's going to need long term. For the decarbonisation of all economies, copper is absolutely critical. It's all well and good having batteries or having some lithium to build batteries or solar panels, so on and so forth. But you need a truckload, pardon the pun, of copper. And so copper is a really key aspect and a key commodity. It's a very large market for copper, so it's not like it's niche, but you need copper. And copper flats, it's a very greenfields project. Okay. But there's copper mineralisation sticking out of the ground there. We see up to 30% copper in rock chip samples at surface.
Oh, wow.
And substantial silver with that. Now, 30% copper at surface, that will be surface enriched, and so I wouldn't be expecting to see 30% at depth.
No. And if you did, calm down, ladies and gentlemen. It's at surface, and it could be enriched for all
exactly right. Look, exactly right. But with the silver and the copper combined, silver is far less mobile in the weathered environments. And so if you're using silver and copper as a vector then that helps dramatically in terms of your targeting. And it's a potentially large sediment-hosted style of mineralisation, and that's what a lot of the big boys want. So it's a very large project. When I say large, it extends east-west about 100 from the northeast to the southwest, about 130 kilometres and about 40 kilometres wide. So it's a big project. And
is it lighting up like a Christmas tree, or are there just specific areas?
No, there will be specific areas, and what you want is specific areas where you see more conductive horizons. Okay. So, as I said, I'm not a metallurgist. I said it earlier. I'm not a metallurgist. I'm certainly also not a geophysicist. We've got geophysicists currently looking at the preliminary data for copper flats from the EM. That data then has to be processed and refined and modelled. That will happen over the next 5 to 6 weeks. And then we'll have a far better idea of where the targets are and how we move forward with that project. It's an exciting project, really exciting project.
We are running out of time. I just want to ask you quickly, Mike, you've been around for a while. When you say it's an exciting project, again, talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Why are you excited at this project? Just understand that.
The unknown, fundamentally. Okay. It's an area it's had a little bit of drilling in some areas, but mainly targeting the shallow portions of the sedimentary basin, not going into the basin and doing the geophysical processing. It's never had any geophysical physics flowing over it before.
Okay.
So it's virgin country in terms of virgin elephant country, really. So where people say that in Australia it's so well explored. There's no new areas.
There's
When you
lots.
can go to an area where you're seeing copper mineralisation sticking out of the ground, and I've got a chunk of it actually. Where is it? So I've got chunks of it sticking out of the ground. There you go.
Oh yeah,
Can't see it.
yeah,
That green, that's malachite at surface. It looks really interesting and it sticks out of the ground. Well, it's not going to work very well.
Yeah, it is. Just put it in front of your face and it'll work.
There you go. Yeah, but I'm too far away. Anyway, so it looks really interesting. It is a virgin area that's sticking out of the ground. Now, a lot of people say in Australia, you now need to be looking undercover. You need to be looking at these really random, really deep targets and different tools to do that, and that becomes far more expensive. When you go to an area and you can walk up and see it, it's quite unique. So that's why I'm excited by it. What's it going to come to? We just don't know.
You don't know, but
that's why we're doing exploration.
I was just about to say, but it could be a discovery up there. Only time will tell, ladies and gentlemen. Mike, we're running out of time. Give me 3 reasons. 3 reasons why they should sit up and take notice of M24 right now, or should I say Mamba Exploration right now?
Yeah. Look, we're busy exploring our Hyden rare earth project. That's a really exciting project. Obviously, we need to understand the metallurgy, but we're doing the good science behind the scenes, and great, discover some mineralisation, but can you extract it? And so we're doing the good work behind the scenes to determine that before we exercise the option and before we keep spending shareholders' money willy-nilly. So that's one key reason. The second is we've got at the end of the last quarter we had $1.4 million in the bank, so we've got funds. And thirdly, we've got the other option and the other project in the back pocket, so to speak, in Copper Flats that we're also exploring up there for what I think is going to be a really key commodity going forward in copper. So totally. 3 very short reasons, but there you go.
Well, we love them being short. Plus, we didn't talk. They've also got their summer projects down south. We're not going to cover that today because it's winter, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Dunbar from Mamba Exploration, thanks so much for joining me on Small Caps today. And come back and tell us when you've got those results back.
Certainly will. Fantastic, Kerry, and thanks for all the watchers and listeners for tuning in.